I recently posted something on Facebook and a few people commented on it and actually also emailed me to ask me what I actually meant. Now, instead of writing a whole long piece, it's just going to be easier for me to do it on video. Here's the bit that I actually wrote. It came from, or comes from a course that I used to teach, EFT Level 3 Advanced course, and I created a section in there called Truly Meeting Your Clients. And here's what I wrote in that section. I said, when you meet your client with the confidence and the flexibility of, I can meet you where you're at, wherever you are, and it's okay that you are who you are and where you are, and I have what is needed to lead you somewhere more useful, and I'm going to make you right every step of the way. Now, that was the bit that people were not quite sure what I meant by that. That's when you truly become present for your client. Your unequivocal and true loving acceptance of who, what, and where they are then becomes the catalyst for change in that madly paradoxical way, non-attached way of caring so much about them that you only want for them what is actually happening for them, while at the same time staying focused, absolutely focused on the desired outcome of your time together. Think about it. So on the one hand, caring so much about your client, you only want for them what is happening right now. True acceptance, in other words, and non-attachment. And at the same time, staying absolutely focused on what they said they wanted instead. I love that. That's when your sessions become fun and flow, and the hour is up before you know it, and you sense the reciprocal appreciation for the time connected, and you think, now that was easy. So that is how most of my client sessions tend to go. So let me clarify the bit about making my clients right, or you, if you want to use what I share, making your clients right every step of the way. Let's take the other extreme. Consider making your clients wrong every step of the way. Ridiculous thought, right? Yet, let's see how as practitioners, or even just in communicating with people, we often make them wrong. And let me demonstrate, hopefully clearly, how. Now, for me, in client work, there are two components to every session. There is the contents, in other words, the stuff the client brings, their life story, their goals, their dreams, their ambitions, their pains, their hurts, their traumas, their dramas, their beliefs, their stuff, in other words. And then there is the process. So the process is the technique that I might use, and the technique might have certain steps, and I know the steps well enough to apply them in a sequence and all that stuff. Now, let's imagine that I ask a client, how do you feel about that? And they give me a wrong answer. They may say, well, I think that's unfair. Now, they did not answer my question. They told me a thought when I asked a feeling. Now, I have a choice. I can say, no, that's not what I meant. I meant give me a feeling, which, as politely and lovingly as I might say that, makes them wrong at some level. Here's might be another way of doing that, making them right every step of the way, but also getting the answer that I want. Okay, that's good. And when you think that it is unfair, how do you feel? First of all, starting the sentence with the word and, repeating what they said, making them right that they said it, and then still asking the question that I really wanted to ask. Here's another much more basic example. Asking somebody, what is 3 times 2? When they tell you 5. Now, it would clearly be ridiculous to say, well, that's correct, because 3 times 2 isn't 5, and hopefully, I don't know, in my lifetime, never will be 5. Here's the way you can apply the principle that I'm sharing with you. Say, 3 plus 2 is 5. What is 3 times 2? So you get, it's really meeting them where they're at, it's making them right, because a lot of people, when you start making them wrong, however subtly or efficiently or masterfully, there's a part of them that's going to start being concerned they gave you the wrong answer, or they're not giving you the answer they want, and it's going to start taking them out of the process. It's going to trigger their stuff about not getting stuff right and not being made wrong and all that stuff. And for the most, it's not going to help the session in any way, shape, or form. So that's what I meant in terms of making the client right in terms of the process. Now, if we then look at the at the other component that I mentioned, which was about the content of the process. There are a couple of, call them mythbusters or assumptions that I like to apply when I work, and that's also how I get to come to the conclusion that making my clients right every step of the way is kind of the way that I think works. First of all, I think it requires just at a spiritual level, if you are into spirituality, it requires a level of absolute non-attachment to what you think the client should have and should want and should need and how things should be different for them. It's also about releasing control, knowing that you have absolutely no control, never mind yourself, you have no control over your clients. You cannot have certain outcomes for them, even if they want them for them. Sometimes the fact is people don't always get what they want, and we, as far as I can tell, have zero control over that. So it also requires a level of understanding of the limbic brain. Now, long story short, limbic brain, a physiological part of your brain is, let's say, you can say it's a bit oversimplified, like a trauma center. And when we get hurt and traumatized, and children, quoting Dr. Robert Scare, is not as resilient as we think they are. Children get traumatized very easily. And when we have unresolved traumas that hang around in the limbic brain and that gets activated, that is when we become childish or violent or crazy or possessive or jealous or silly or stupid or absurd or ridiculous or whatever other label we want to put on it. And then that's the bit that we typically use to beat other people up or beat ourselves up. Now, when a client comes to me, in my experience, they have spent enough time beating themselves up for what they have done and haven't done, how they have hurt others, how they've hurt themselves, how they didn't say what they should have said, and how they shouldn't have said what they did say. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, we can spend the next 5 months, years, or decades trying to talk you into how that bad thing that you did wasn't really that bad, but that's using the frontal cortex part, which of course doesn't sit on your forehead, but it sits in the front part of your brain, and that typically gets you nowhere. That's why your conversations with typically well-meaning people that say, oh no, it's not so bad, you'll feel better for, I don't know, anything between 7 and 12 seconds, but then the same old stuff comes back. That's also why positive affirmations are very limited in their use, because it develops another part of the brain, the frontal cortex part, the more conscious part, and unless you keep doing it, the old stuff comes back. Why? Because it still lives in the limbic brain, and unless you address it there, good luck with that, let me know how it goes. So, client comes guilt-ridden, embarrassed, ashamed, angry at themselves, all that stuff because of what they did or didn't do, judgmental enough as it is, it's not helping them. If it helped them, they wouldn't have come to see me in the first place. So we know that the judgment on self and the harshness of self and hanging on to shame and guilt and embarrassment and all that stuff, first of all, doesn't change the past. It does not change what they actually did, and it doesn't help them moving forward. So I can also jump on the bandwagon and go, oh yeah, that thing you did really wasn't okay. Or I can go, well, given your past and what happened to you, it kind of makes sense that you did that, doesn't it? Now, sometimes I'll just use it exactly the way that I did it now, but sometimes it's more subtle. Sometimes it's about leading the client to actually see for themselves, because here's the thing, if you work with people, you already know when they come to their own conclusions and realizations, they are always the most and more powerful ones. So in other words, if we can help people see that they were right to do whatever they did, now that does not mean there are no consequences. It does not mean that they condone what they did, they're going to go out and do it again. And if you can understand the limbic brain enough, the emotional brain is the other word that it's called, and see that whatever emotions we act out of in that moment is the best that we could do at that point in time. And how do we know that? Because if we could have done something better, we would have done something better. If we could have done something different, we would have done something different. Fact is, we didn't, so there it is. That's how I know whatever you did and whatever I did is the best you or I could have done at the moment. Now again, there might need to be amends and change of plan and do something different next time, all that stuff. I get it, moving forward. I'm talking about the past. We can't change it. So, I hate these old spiritual quotes that we throw around so easily, but this thing about what you resist persists. And so I add on to that, what you can truly accept, you seem to be able to transform. And the reason I know there's some things that I just have so not accepted about me in my life. And guess what? I'm stuck after 48 years. So there we go. That's definitely a conversation for another day. So if we can help people see that whatever they did was right in the moment, then what that does automatically, when they can see how stressed they were, or how unskilled they were, or how incompetent they were, or how they just didn't know how else to cope with the overwhelm or the emotion or the addiction or the betrayal or whatever it is, then automatically a sense of compassion comes in for the client, by the client. And, again, spiritual sayings, love heals all and all that stuff, but don't you think that self-love has got to be the beginning and the end of everything? I said many years ago, and I stand by it, the root cause of all misery on this planet is a lack of self-acceptance. So I'm not saying my approach is right, I'm just saying it tends to work for me and the clients that come to see me, making them right for whatever they've done. Now, what that adds, so I already talked about a little bit about clients that come to their own conclusions. I also think that it's up to clients to make their own decisions, even if those decisions aren't the ones that are right for me. So I might listen to a client and go, well, it's kind of obvious to me, you should just get divorced. Violent relationship, what's going on? Get out. Or, yeah, no, I don't know about that. That sounds really okay to me. I think you and I need to do a bit more work before you divorce your partner. Either way. The point is, it doesn't matter what conclusions I come to. It's what the answers that they come to for themselves. And my job, and if you work with people, I think your job is to help them release the emotional stuff that's getting in the way of them doing the thing that they already know is the right thing to do. In other words, helping them release the dramas and the traumas and the limiting beliefs and the pains and all the other stuff, noisy birds outside, that's been getting in the way of them doing what they in their heart knows is the right thing to do. And sometimes that thing that they already know is the right thing to do is so scary, or the consequences seem so potentially severe that they don't even know that they know what to do. So in other words, it's completely unconscious. And the way that I see our job working with people is we help them remove the obstacles, so that clarity can come and their own answers can come and they can make the decisions that are right for them. Now, of course, that implies completely that not only do I not know the answers for my clients, or if you work with people, I strongly suggest you consider that position, because you don't. And this is different, of course, if you are an expert in your field and you are a business coach and I work with you and I want to know how to grow my business, then clearly you need to instruct me and tell me, oh, you need to do this marketing and change that copy on that website and start doing this and stop doing that. That's different. I'm not talking about coaching. I'm talking about personal transformation. About really helping people become fuller or more of themselves so that they can live fuller lives, more authentic lives, do what's right for them. But I think it takes it a step further even. It actually implies that I don't know anything. I know stuff. I know techniques. I know how to use my phone to do a video. I know how to do things, but in the big scheme of things, I actually know nothing. I don't know what's right, I don't know what's wrong. I just have my set of belief systems and my set of filters based on my upbringing and my limbic brain and my dramas and my traumas that haven't been resolved and those that have been resolved, and so on and so on. So I think ultimately making your clients right every step of the way is the ultimate. It's not just humility as in, I'm so humble. It really is, I think it's the most effective way to really truly empower your clients. It just makes sense at so many levels. When we can meet more people where they're at rather than where they think they should be at or where we think they should be at, I think that we'll have such more deeper, there we go. We'll have such deeper, more meaningful connection and relationships. And when we can have meaningful and deep relationships, then we allow people to be who they are, and then they come to their own conclusions and we can support their decisions every single step of the way. And then the last part of that is around belief systems. So we all have different belief systems. Some believe in God and some don't. Some believe in that God and not that God. We all have different beliefs around money. Money is easy to come by. It's everywhere. Everybody's going. Or it's not. It's hard to come by. You have to work hard for it. We have beliefs about men and women and gays and straights and blacks and whites and all that stuff. So beliefs are not right, wrong or real. They're just beliefs. And when I start enforcing my beliefs or trying to force them on my clients, I think that's not my place nor my role to actually do that. If I can instead make space for the beliefs of my clients and allow them to be right about their beliefs, because they get to choose their own beliefs, just like I want the freedom to choose my own beliefs. There is a proviso for me in that. So for me, I can contain beliefs around any kind of religion. Some believe in God, some don't. Some believe there's a devil, some don't. Some believe in heaven and hell, and some don't. And it's really neither here nor there for me. It does not affect me personally in any way, shape, or form. And I can work with any client, whatever the belief systems around God or religion or this and that. But for example, it'll be very hard for me to work with somebody who believes that to be gay is a mortal sin and you're going to burn in hell, because that's completely contradicting my own belief systems about what it means to be gay. It affects me personally, and therefore not making my client wrong or very subtly and smartly trying to implant my beliefs on them. I just won't work with them in that sense. Just go, you know what, I'm not the best one to help you with this particular situation, and let me help you find someone else. So I hope that clarifies to some extent. what I meant when I said meet your client or make them right every step of the way. I do not know of a way to more empower your client, and it is, I believe, when you can meet people where they're at, you have a much better chance of leading them somewhere more useful, rather than when where they're at somehow doesn't meet your standards or expectations, or you make them wrong, however overtly, covertly, subtly, or otherwise. We all have these radars, and we know when whatever we said or the way we are just isn't quite right with the person that we're with, and that's not going to help you work with your clients. Any other questions? Post them, email them. I'm here. Big hugs. Bye.